People often forget that students with cerebral palsy have mostly a physical disability. While mental disabilities and cerebral palsy sometimes go together, it is not always the case. Many patients with cerebral palsy are of normal intelligence. Teaching techniques and tips differ depending on the severity of the impairment. However, there are certain teaching techniques and tips that all teachers can utilize in the classroom and outside of the classroom to help students with cerebral palsy be successful. Cerebral palsy is a term used to describe a group of chronic conditions affecting body movement and muscle coordination. It is caused by damage to one or more specific areas of the brain, usually occurring during fetal development, before, during, or shortly following birth, or during infancy. Cerebral refers to the brain, and palsy refers to muscle weakness or poor coordination. Cerebral palsy itself is not progressive. However, secondary conditions can develop that may get better over time or get worse or stay the same. Cerebral palsy is not communicable. It is not a disease and should never refer to one as such. Although cerebral palsy is not curable in the acceptable tense, training and therapy can help improve functions. Some of the characteristics students with CP may show are undeveloped motor skills, may favor one side of the body or a body pattern, unusual and often awkward posture, may focus locally on surroundings and not view pictures in the big picture sense, demonstrate poor visual activities, and more. Because of these challenges, there are specific teaching methods that teachers can utilize inside the classroom that are more effective than the others. For example, teachers may offer physical adaptations when necessary, such as seating or lab space. Utilize technology in the classroom as much as possible to get students better equipped for computer use and technology use, and limit writing activities or provide additional time for written activities. Provide as many group activities as possible to enhance social interactions, and use visual cues if the student has difficulties raising their hand. Before talking about modifications to SAE projects I would make for these students, there is a story I would like to share. An organization titled Handicapped Scuba Association provides scuba lessons for students with special needs ranging from autism to cerebral palsy. Going through the entire training and then allowing these students to actually use scuba equipment, Stuart Snyder, a dive instructor, says once they were in the water, it seemed as if they were set free. Now being scuba certified myself, I know the amount of work it takes to be equipped and knowledgeable about each piece of equipment and how to use it appropriately. I believe this activity proves that students with special needs, specifically cerebral palsy, are able to participate in any SAE project and any FFA program. Big picture items such as that teachers need to focus on is physical accommodation so that experience and participation is not limited. One example of an SAE project I believe would work great with students with special needs are greenhouse plants or garden plots, depending on the availability and resources. A greenhouse provides good open space for students to move around accessible equipment without making the watering difficult, and these projects are usually far less difficult and time-consuming than livestock animals. That is not to say it is impossible for students with cerebral palsy. Although I see greenhouse projects more accommodating with students with CP, the reason I shared the story before is to make sure that we don't limit the possibilities for these students. With hard work and dedication, I believe that we can all make accommodations for any type of student to the responsibilities of livestock ownership or high time commitment SAE projects. Modifications I would make is to always start with the basics and never assume that any student, special needs or not, already knows what to do. Explain the use of a greenhouse, use of tools, how to fertilize, how to germinate, how to transplant, and every aspect of growing plants and the use of greenhouse or any other SAE project first needs to be covered. Once these students understand the routine and what is expected out of them, they can handle their SAE projects themselves with the supervision of their agriculture instructor. Most importantly, I believe physical accommodations and modifications are again the most important aspect to cover when dealing with a student with CP because of their higher need to be mobile and active within the classroom and outside of the classroom.